Welcome to the Lila Life Show. I am your host, and today we have a great episode in store. I want to talk to you about projects. I want to talk to you about collaborations. And I am focusing this conversation on early stage founders that are figuring it out. So, wherever you fall in that, hopefully by the $1 million mark in annual revenue, you've figured it out. But getting from that pre revenue stage to that number, or whatever your first big milestone number is, these tips, these insights are here to help you. I believe there's some crossover for you in your personal life. Well-being is a huge foundation to everything we do here, including if you're not in business, your overall well-being. So I believe there's something for everyone. But again, that's the lens with which we're focusing this on. So a few things I want to say before we dive in. I think business is solving problems to solve a big problem. For me personally, with Lila Life, I see a lot of early stage founders struggle. I've lived that struggle. And so everything that I'm sharing is out of the place of figuring it out. And whatever I'm sharing is something that's been tried or true through this journey for me and leading and guiding Lila Life. So navigating projects, what is a project? How long should a project last? Why do I need projects? What of this can be a standard operating procedure? The list goes on. And then collaborations, getting a handle on these two aspects, especially at the early stage, has been major trial and error. And that's where this comes from. And so much of business is that trial and error. And a lot of the error is going to lead you to the next trial. And it goes on and on and on. So the more self-aware, conscious that you can be of how you're operating, how you're in relationship with other people, how are you assessing risks, how is this all fitting together, the better this is going to go for you. And again, your perseverance is built through the setbacks. And this is where a lot of people don't want to go forward in business because they don't want to have setbacks and they're not building their perseverance, right? That resiliency, that underlying muscle that definitely needs to be there, or else you're going to feel that burnout, lethargy, not in alignment. And so, as we dive in to talk about projects, I just want to talk about alignment for a second. You hear me say often mission, vision, values, purpose, MV squared P. You have this for your business, MV squared P. You break this down. What are you going to do this quarter? And what out of that is projects and sub projects, which is a bucket of actions going to an outcome and clarifying what is this outcome. I like the SMART framework. It's simple, specific, measurable, actionable, or achievable, relevant, and time bound. Okay, so how can you make that SMART? And that project, maybe it takes the whole quarter. Ideally, it's a 90-day project or less. And so there may be something bigger that you're chunking down. If it's, say, this is going to be a 6-month initiative, but you're going to chunk that down to, say, what you're focused on for the quarter. Learning from these setbacks, being a quick decision maker, getting that feedback loop going, and setting these achievable milestones. And so how do you know you're progressing? Oh, I'm going to do 300 user interviews, and I've done 4. Okay, I got a long way to go. And I have to figure out why I've only done 4. How can I get my 5th? How can I get the 5 through 15, right? Where's that feedback loop? And this is so critical as you're assessing these projects, breaking them down, because you have to know, how will I know I achieved the desired outcome? And so in that specificity, that's where these milestones are going to be driven from. Some projects you get to work with other people. I think that's really important. You're going to start developing your team. It may be super informal, going the contractor route. You may have your first co-founder or first full-time hire, right? How are you working with other people? That's going to continue to evolve through your whole entire journey here. But collaborations and small projects, these can be great ways to test your ability to operate in and as a leader, your ability to operate in relationship with others. And because of the non-committal nature, right? A project or collaboration, it could be one campaign, it could be one 6-month push or one 6-week push. You can decide what level of commitment and collaboration you want with someone else to start, what the ideal outcome for that to evolve to. And again, checking in, is this tracking mission, vision, values, purpose? Is this tracking what we're doing in this next quarter? Otherwise, it can just grow into its whole other thing, which is awesome. And maybe one day that will, but where are your active resources right now? Focus on what, and checking in to make sure there is that alignment. So pause here for a short commercial break. I want to mention the Lila Life Collective. If you enjoy the support that you're getting here inside the podcast, inside our full network of our omni marketing channels, definitely check out the Lila Life Collective. You get 22 days free, and you also get 60 minutes worth of integrative advising. This is all to support emerging founders navigating the early stages of the journey. All right, pivoting from there, a little bit more practical advice. So, managing project progress. The smaller you can break the project down into tasks, into actions, into steps, this is critical. Why is this critical? There can be a lot of resistance to do whatever that project is because we get in this mental loop that's like, I'm going to be doing this forever. And you're not. Like, you're going to be moving through business as fast as you can make decisions and learn from them. And so likely you won't be doing much of that forever. There's going to be some kind of handoff. There's going to be some element of training. You get to structure all of this, but and it could absolutely be just with yourself, but getting really clear on what these action steps need to look like for this to be executed in the way that's at the standard and at that brand alignment and in alignment with mission, vision, values, purpose. You have broken this down, and then it's very clear what you need to do. And often we know the first step is getting started. And so you're taking that first step, you're getting started, and you know exactly what you're going to do. And that can really break down that feedback loop if you're ever getting into distraction or procrastination. Use your time wisely. Be realistic with yourself, with your time, how long it's going to take you. And the only way you get to figure this out, it's that intimacy journey into me I see, is learning how you operate. You have to be willing to experiment. You have to be willing to be like, oh shit, that didn't work out. You just have to be willing to get real with yourself and be honest with yourself and keep tweaking it just a bit, just a bit. One person that I think is an absolute master of this, and the first way I could see this so tangibly, aside from a Ritz-Carlton, is Tony Robbins events. You know, he is maniacal at stepping back, asking what went well, what could go better, now what? And I hate to oversimplify coaching, but if you can be honest with yourself about those three questions and do that work regularly about anything you're doing, truly, it's just going to change some of the wiring. It's going to help you optimize. It's going to help you cut out what's unnecessary, and it'll help you just stay on track overall. So definitely being realistic with yourself about the time, getting the feedback loop around what's working, what's not, and giving yourself work gaps that are long enough to get something done. I don't think it needs to take 5 hours to get into work mode. But the one thing is, like, when you're in work mode, it feels good to let yourself be in work mode for as long as you feel like being in work mode. So if you are like, man, I'd love to get in like a 3 hour straight work sesh, and you only give yourself an hour, just think about how you're using that time. And maybe you're able to stack tasks if you really get in that workflow. And that's why having those steps in place is going to really make you be able to tackle that. So project management tools, I like the Best Self Co. project managers. I love the way that they have their journal set up. I use their 6-month journal. Best Self Co. That's if you like a pen in your hand. I'm a big writer. I love to be nerdy with my planner. I have highlighters. Like, I can't even handle how dorky I am with that stuff. Figure out what works for you. There's tons of great apps, especially working with your team. Google Suite has a lot of functionality. It's figuring out what works, revisiting if it's still working. And so just because you did something 6 months ago doesn't mean you still need to do that. There may be already something to optimize there. And I think that nimbleness is going to help you navigate how you do projects, right? Maybe you create a rule that's like, we only do 3-step projects. And so all your projects and sub projects are 3 steps. You can make things that tight and that efficient. And at step 4 becomes a new project, if you get what I'm saying there. So figuring it out, making it as manageable as you can, keeping in mind the opportunity to hand that off, And in that handoff, you may be handing it off to a collaborator, right? If you're early stage, you have contractors you're working with. Absolutely, these are collaborators. Keeping it simple, easy to understand, letting them have autonomy to build off that. This is a really fun collaborative relationship that you can explore. And this is going to be all your other relationships evolving for how you are working with others, right? And at the early stages, again, this could just be through shorter contracts, shorter agreements, right? Just seeing what's going to work. Hey, this could be multi-year, but let's just see what's going to work. What's going to work now? How is this relating to mission, vision, values, purpose? How is this relating to this quarter? Is this all connecting? So don't be afraid to start with something super simple. Find out what that win-win looks like. Be realistic about roles and responsibilities. And this is going to help make that collaboration a great experience. And if it's not working out, it could be something you revisit at another time, or you learn something. And so it's a really low risk way to be in relationship with others, especially as you are at the early stage, maybe even a solopreneur. All right, we went over a lot. I want to just touch on some key points here. All right. The importance of collaboration. This is a catalyst for your success. You are going to be working with people, you have clients, you have customers, you have team members. There's all these relationships. And so at the early stage, exploring those collaborations, see what can grow from there. It's going to be a win-win, looking for that win-win. Have some clear milestones, be open to new opportunities, but be aware of where your priorities are, what you have the capacity for, and is this something that's urgent, important, or can we table this to another time? And starting to create those processes that can be in place. So as you're reaching that first project milestone, if it is a recurring cadence, you can then starting those systems in place. So think now, your own projects, your own collaborations. Is there something you learned today? What's going on for you? I would love to hear your thoughts, any feedback, subscribe, share, do all the things. We have some great programming coming up. I'm so excited. I thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you to some of our amazing partners, Apollo Neuro. It's helping optimize stress levels and performance. I mentioned the Lila Life Collective and Neurohacker. Supercharge your brain power and enhance your cognitive function. Anything I'm sharing is because it's something I personally use and I recommend, and you get a discount. So Lila Life as that promo code. Thank you so much for tuning into the Lila Life Show, and we'll see you next week.